What's up, Pouty people, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Pow Pals Podcast. I am your host, as always, Elle, and we have a lot to unpack this week. There have been so many things online, on TV, just media in general that has happened in the past 2 weeks. It's like hard for me to even catch up. But I've actually had a rough past week. Like, my pregnancy is really beating me up this time around, which is weird because the first time it went pretty smoothly, and unless I'm like forgetting how awful it was, this one has been a lot harder so far. Like, I was feeling pretty good up until about like a week and a half ago, and then all of a sudden I started getting pretty bad nausea like during the day all the time, and it used to just kind of like come and go in waves, but now it's pretty often. So if you're watching the YouTube, you could probably tell I am not feeling my best, but I had to show up for you guys because we have things to discuss. I also hope everybody is having a good time this summer for vacation and whatnot. If anybody went anywhere fun, I just went to Bethany Beach with my husband and my baby, and it was the first time that I'd been back there in maybe like 10 years, maybe even more, honestly. But I used to go there as a kid every summer that we weren't going to Greece. So my family is from Greece and we own a home there. So I was fortunate enough as a kid to be able to go to Greece every other summer. And that was just like a huge part of my identity growing up. And so I haven't been back there in like 12 years either. So it's weird. But when we weren't going to Greece, we were going to Bethany Beach, and that's in Delaware. And I remember like so many little things from those trips that I had forgotten, but going back really like jogged my memory. But in particular, my mom was friends with a woman. She was my Auntie Anne, and she had a beach house in Bethany Beach. So we would stay, I think, for like a week or two at a time. I think it was probably just a week, but we would stay with her. And like, she passed away a couple of years ago, but I hadn't seen her in years, right? And so like, it's one of those deaths where like you are sad, but because you haven't seen them in so long, it doesn't really like hit you. You're just like, oh, I am very sad about that, but you know, I wouldn't say devastated. And you know, growing up with her, she was just the sweetest woman. She couldn't have kids, so they had this dog named Sadie, and Sadie was like her child. And she would bring this dog everywhere with her. I remember her laugh. I remember her smile. Not the dog, my aunt. And she was just like a light. She was really just such a light. She was such a wonderful, sweet person who was absolutely so generous and giving. And going back to Bethany Beach, we actually stopped by the house, and we didn't go inside or anything because they're actually renting it as an Airbnb now that she's passed. And just like seeing that house brought up a lot of memories for me, and specifically like I got hit with a wave of nostalgia of my Auntie Anne, you know, of not seeing her for forever. Like your memory kind of like fades a little bit when you don't see people for a long time, but man, that was a very emotional experience for me, and nostalgic, but in a great way. Like, I was able to have a really fun vacation with my husband and kind of like show him the places that we would go and talk about the memories and the things that we did. And I just felt like I was kind of opening up a piece of myself that I had lost a little bit. So that was a super fun thing to happen lately. But unfortunately as well, like I started feeling a little bit sick while we were on that vacation, and unfortunately it just hasn't gone away, and this pregnancy has just been kicking my butt. But pun intended, I guess, we have some things to talk about. So first things first, Justin Bieber released a new album. Yeah, you heard me right. It is 2025 and Justin Bieber released new music. And listen, I am a hater by nature. Okay? I just am. I like to complain about things. I like to kind of like be a pessimist about certain things. Like, for example, with Wicked, like, I was not excited about that movie at all. But I will admit when I'm wrong, right? Like, I went on here and we talked about Wicked and I told you how amazing it was. And with the Justin Bieber album, this time I told myself, you know what? I'm gonna go into it optimistically. I was never like a believer, but I certainly liked his music. I mean, it was a huge part of my childhood / teenagedom, right? And I went into it thinking, okay, like, I'm sure it's going to be really good. Like, everybody's hyping this up. It's got to be crazy. And I don't really know what I was expecting, but I was let down, like, a lot. I thought that this album was bad. And I wanted to like it. I'm not saying that I don't like it just to be, like, on the hater train. I really just don't think it's anything special. And I feel like it wasn't, like, the way it reads to me is that this album wasn't for us. This was not for us to listen to. This was something that he decided to workshop in his garage with, like, random people and, you know, was just playing around while high and made a couple songs and then decided, you know what, since everybody thinks that I've, like, turned my back on music, I'm just going to release this. I don't like it. It's so uninspired. And I know that sounds bad, but this man has been through so many things, right? He's been through getting arrested. He's been through being a child star, being sexualized and objectified by women, older women his age, probably men. He's been in a very, very dark side of the music industry for God knows how long. He was plucked from obscurity and became famous at 13 years old. He went through drugs and alcohol and countless rehabs. He had a child. He is married to his stalker. You know what I mean? Like, there's things that he's been through that I was just expecting him to talk about in his music. But instead, if you act like, whenever I listen to a new album, I look up the lyrics, and I don't just, like, listen to the music. I look up the lyrics and I read the lyrics along with it. And I'm telling you, the first, like, 4 songs all had the same exact words. Every single one. It was like, you know, I'm not gonna, I don't remember them exactly, but it was like something like, I love you, you're so awesome, like, I know you want to be out with me, but I just want you in my bed. And, like, the amount of times that I heard him say, like, I just want you in my bed on every song, it's like, it's not unique. The song about Hailey Bieber, well, at least the one that was blatantly obvious about her, I actually thought that one was, like, kind of cute. You know, I liked how he goes, that's my baby, she's iconic. iPhone case, lip gloss on it. Because if you think about it, like, what is Hailey Bieber known for other than, like, casting a spell with her witch's brew and landing Justin Bieber? It's her Rhode lip care or skincare beauty line, right? It's Rhode Beauty. Like, that's what she's known for. She's known for the iPhone case with the lip gloss. So, like, I don't know, that's, like, the best thing that she has done. I guess it's, like, the most iconic thing that she has done to, like, set herself aside from all the other celebrities' wives. So I think that, I don't know, I kind of thought it was cute that he was kind of recognizing, like, how iconic she is and why she is iconic. But I don't know, the whole album just felt empty. And I don't even like that song, Daisies. It's boring. It's boring. And, like, I don't know why I keep expecting pop stars to create unique and meaningful music. Because it's not. It's all boring. Like, everything's been done. Everything's been sung. All the lyrics have been made. I just, like, find myself feeling so uninspired by today's music over and over and over again. And this was no different. I don't think he cares either. I really don't think he cares what we think. Because, like I said, I don't think that this album was for us. I think it was just for him messing around in his basement and decided to put some music out just because he could. And the album is called Swag. I don't know if that is Like at first I was like, oh, that's funny, because like his whole thing when he was a kid was like swag. You know, he was the inventor, if you will, of swag and like the use of that word all the time. In his song, what was it? If I was your boyfriend, I'd never let you go. In that song, he's literally like 3, 2, 1, swaggy. You know what I mean? Like he was swag. He had swag, but he was swag. So I was like, okay, the album title would suggest to me then that the music that he's putting in the album would have some sort of at least nod to his previous music. But nope, it had nothing to do with his previous music. It had everything to do with mediocrity. And what the heck is Sexy Red? What is that? Who is that? Like, I'm sorry, I've never heard of this person before. And now I'm really upset that you've made me learn about this person, because what? Like, talk about talentless. And everybody's on the internet like, oh, like, why did he let her on? I didn't even know she was a person. I didn't even know she was a thing. I didn't know she was an artist. Like, it's like Ice Spice to me. Like, no talent. Weird and terrible. Anyway, moving on. Let me know what you guys thought about the album, because I've been seeing mixed reviews. Everybody's like either obsessed with it or they hate it. So just let me know. Also, something that came back from our childhood, if you will, snack wraps from McDonald's. And I can promise you that when snack wraps went away, no one was more upset than me. I loved snack wraps. I would eat a snack wrap maybe 2 to 3 times a week. And I would remember driving in my 97 Lexus to work at Giant and grabbing a snack wrap before my shift and like a Diet Coke, crispy Diet Coke. And that to me is my nostalgia. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's the pregnancy that ruined it for me or they're just not as good, but I made the trip over to Mickey D's, which I've been trying to avoid because I've been trying to eat good for this baby. I was so disappointed. It was not just bad, it was inedible. And I got 2. I didn't get the spicy ones. I just got 2 of the ranch ones because they come in like a meal. I got 2 of the ranch ones, which is the ones that I used to love. And you guys, like, the chicken was like stringing. It was disgusting. The lettuce was shredded and like wilted. It was bad. I don't know why I said shredded. The lettuce was wilted and bad. Not to mention, I went there through the drive-thru and then they were like, oh, can you pull up to the spot number 1? You know how like if they're overflowing or whatever for the drive-thru, they're like, okay, can you go wait in the spot and then we'll come and bring you your food. And it usually takes maybe like 2 minutes, okay? They forgot about me. I'm telling you, they forgot about me. This guy comes out, hands food to 2 other cars, which is ridiculous that there's 3 cars waiting for drive-thru food. Waiting for food. Waiting. My baby wakes up, my son wakes up from a nap in the car. He starts freaking out. Then all of a sudden, my ballet teacher from when I was 7 comes out of McDonald's and she starts chatting to me while my baby's crying. And I'm like, oh, so nice to see you. Like, whoa. And I'm like, I've got a bottle in one hand. I'm talking to her, you know, and I'm just like, where the heck is my food? Finally, 15 minutes later, the guy comes out. He hands me a bag and walks away. And I'm like, wait. And I look in the bag. There's a hamburger. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, dude, this is not my order. I was mad at that point because I'm a hungry pregnant woman who's been waiting for 15 minutes with a baby screaming in the back while I'm doing small talk. Do you know how overstimulating that is? So I was like, dude, this is not my order. And he grabs the bag from me and goes back inside without another word and then comes back out and he goes, what was the order? I'm like, dude, 2 snack wraps, ranch snack wraps, whatever. So he comes back out 3 minutes later and just hands me the food. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Customer service of McDonald's has always been top notch everywhere I go. Not. But anyway, that was annoying. And Then on top of it all, the snack wraps were bad. Just not a good experience. Not a good experience. I want to know if anybody else has tasted them recently and if they have given you the nostalgia that I so wrongfully was taken away from experiencing, but I couldn't do it. All right, now a big one. Love Island. Love Island is over. If you haven't watched it, I'm going to spoil it for you. So don't listen to this next part. Fast forward like a couple minutes. But we have our winners, Amaya and Brian, and I'm very happy that those are the people that won. However, I don't love Brian, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, this season was full of drama, like full of it. But I also think it was the first time where I've ever witnessed in real time people getting canceled and taken off of a show because the audience demands it happen immediately. And it's scary. Like it scared me a lot. And like, I feel like it would be scary to anyone, but especially people that put themselves out on the internet. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I probably did some bad things when I was a teenager that would get me canceled today. But here's the thing, I feel like all of us did. I feel like all of us did because we didn't constantly have a camera in our face worrying about the repercussions. And while that doesn't make it right, and while we were kids, like that stuff happened, and I'm very, very scared. If someone were to do a deep dive on my past and find out the things that I had said and the things that I had did before learning how harmful they were, I would be canceled in a minute. And I'm going to put that out there, like, honestly. Who I am today is not reflective at all of who I was 10 years ago. But you have these people on the internet who are so hell-bent on ruining people. Absolutely ruining them. So, for example, the whole Sierra drama, right? Sierra is, she was one of the front runners on the show, and she was exposed, I guess. Someone found a Instagram story that she had posted like 2 years prior or a year prior, where she was using a derogatory term for Asian eyes. Obviously, I'm not going to repeat it here. But they then took that and ran with it, and then all of a sudden this girl is being labeled as racist and insensitive and a bigot. And while I think that is probably true for the most part, they ruined her. People called ICE on her family. She's Hispanic. They called ICE on her family. They, another woman, she's Palestinian. She's nuts, okay? I liked her in like a sad way. I don't know. I was rooting for her. Her name was Huda. She was nuts. She went crazy. She was borderline abusive to some guys, but like, you know. So she has a daughter, and people were calling CPS for like a wellness check or something on her daughter. Absolutely insane behavior. Like, you guys need to chill out. It is absolutely terrifying these days to go anywhere and feel like you're always constantly being watched by somebody with a camera who wants to see your downfall. I mean, my husband used to talk about this because my husband's, I guess, a content creator. He's a YouTuber for his job. And he used to talk about how scary it was to literally, like, his entire job is putting himself out on the internet. And someone can take one thing and turn that into a career-ending problem. Not saying that he did anything wrong, but you know what I mean? Like, things get manipulated. Things get blown out of proportion. People have made mistakes in life. And like, if we can't like move on from that collectively and just admit that we're all human beings learning, what are we doing? I'm scared. I'm so scared of where this world is going. And that's exactly why my children are not going to have social media until they're probably like in high school or something. Cause I can't even imagine what it's like these days. I can't. Like, I think that's another reason why people don't go to bars anymore. and go clubbing and go wild at clubs because they know they're going to be filmed and put on the internet. I don't like going to the gym because I know I'm going to be filmed and put on the internet if I do something wrong or if I look like an idiot, which I probably do. So, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I just I think about this all the time and it's crazy. But anyway, back to Love Island. This season sucked, but it was very entertaining in the fact that so many people were dramatic. That's always fun to watch. But at the same time, our beautiful Amaya got completely bullied, but then had a wonderful redemption arc in the end of it. Unfortunately, I just feel like Brian did not actually like her. I feel like he hitched his horse to her. Is that the right word? Whatever. He hitched his horse to her when people started to figure out that she was becoming America's favorite. And I don't know. I think that he knew that he was coming in as a white knight and was okay, I'm gonna stick this through and we're gonna make it to the end and we're gonna win the money. And then his plan is probably, unfortunately, make it last for a year and then break up and say he tried. I don't know. I just I don't love that whole thing. I love how happy Amaya is, and I hope to God for her sake that it is a genuine loving relationship. But I am happy with the winners, and now Pepe is free. That's all I have to say about that. He is free to everyone else. Okay, 2 more things real quick that happened to me that I have to complain about this week. I had the most horrific experience ever. Okay, that's really dramatic. Hold on, let me scale this back a little bit. I went to a doctor's appointment this week, and I was supposed to I was supposed to get something called NIPT testing, which is basically they take your blood, they send it off to a lab, and it looks for markers for genetic abnormalities, and it can also determine the sex of your baby. And it's important that you get this done because, you need to find out if everything's going well with your child or not. So I go to this appointment. I'm in the waiting room for an hour. Okay, maybe 40 minutes, but an hour. My child hates going to the doctors. I'm never bringing him again after this. He hates going to the doctors with me, but he was so bored. He just screamed and it was close to his nap time because I thought, oh, stupid me. I thought that we would go in, it would probably take an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then we would be out. And I was assuming he would probably get fussy and want to go to sleep right before we're wrapping up. But no, they didn't see me for almost an hour. They take me back there, and the doctor, the OB, looks at my chart and she's like, so you're 14 weeks along. And I said, no, I'm 11 weeks along. She said, no, I'm looking at the ultrasound right now. You're 14 weeks. I said, that's not possible. I am 11 weeks along. I don't know how you got that information. And prior to this, a nurse came to see me after I had been brought into the room. She took my blood pressure and she was like, your blood pressure's a little high, so I'm going to leave in 3 minutes and then come back and retake your blood pressure. Never saw her again. Anyway, this doctor, the OB, is telling me all this stuff oh, well, since you're 14 weeks, you're past the threshold of being able to do the genetic testing and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I am not 14 weeks pregnant. I need you to go and I literally said, I don't mean to be rude, but could you please verify these results with another doctor? And so she was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go take another look. And I was like, yeah, you do that. So she leaves. 20 minutes later, she comes back and she's like, yeah, you're right, actually. And I was like, gee, you think? So then after all of that, another nurse comes in and she says, so yeah, since you can do the NIPT testing today, since you're only 11 weeks, we could go ahead and do that for you. But unfortunately, we don't have the tubing or the tools necessary to do your blood draw. I'm like, what? Okay, first of all, this is the second time that I have been to an appointment where they just like don't have the proper things that they need. It's a doctor's office. The first time they sent me to a different location so that my son could get some testing done. And we get there and they're like, oh yeah, we actually don't do this type of testing at this location. Then why would you send me to this location? Why are you confirming with me to come to an appointment where you know I'm getting NIPT testing done if you don't have the materials to do the NIPT testing? Explain. So anyway, that was very frustrating. And I left after being there for 2 hours with having absolutely nothing done to me except my blood pressure taken once and being told it was high for the first time in my entire life, but having no follow-up on that. Anyway, moving on. The last thing before we get into today's real meat and potatoes. I love saying that on this podcast for some reason. I always say meat and potatoes. Anyway, I don't say that in real life. But I went to the movies and I saw Superman. And I thought the movie was great. I thought the movie was also clearly anti-Israel. If my husband listens to this, he's probably going to be mad that I'm making Superman political. But it's very, very, very obvious to me that it was anti-Israel. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But I loved the movie and I thought it was very well done. I thought the characters were great. It was a great experience. However, why do I have to keep talking about this all the time? But people piss me off in the movie theaters. Why can't you just be respectful in the movie theaters? When I tell you, I look over and 2 rows down from me, someone has a baby. The movie starts at 6 p.m., probably ending around 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock, meaning that baby's probably not even going to end up getting home until 9:30, 10. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that a baby should be anywhere near a loud movie theater, for one. A action movie that has, blinking light sequences, strobe lights, like the decibel of the actual like booming of the action scenes. Are you kidding me right now? Not to mention, the baby cries, okay? Babies at that age, apparently, also crawl. And this woman was letting her baby crawl on the ground, underneath the seats, under people's legs that didn't sign up for a baby to be there. I think that eventually, like, this woman there's a fly in here. I'm so sorry. There's a fly in my house. I just got distracted, but that makes me really mad. There's nothing more irritating and overstimulating to me than a fly. Anyway, every time I, like, see that, do you guys ever think of, like, the Miley Cyrus song, "Don't You Wish That You Could Be a Fly on the Wall"? Do you remember that song? For some reason, like, I think of that song whenever I see a fly, which is a lot, actually. Okay, moving on. After the lady, whatever, she removed herself. So I think either she got told by someone that she needs to be, that the baby can't be there, or she decided, hey, I don't want to sit through this movie with my baby bothering everyone because it shouldn't be here. She got removed or she left. But the kicker is, I'm sitting near the end, but not like on the end. And I lean over, before the movie starts, I lean over to the guy next to me and I said, look, I'm really sorry. I just want to give you a heads up. I'm pregnant. So I'm just apologizing in advance if I have to get up and pee a couple of times. Like, I'm going to try not to, but just in case, I'm sorry in advance. He was like, no problem, totally fine, congratulations. I was like, great, thanks. 20 minutes into the movie, this guy starts to vape right next to me. Vape. Full on cloudy vape. And ordinarily, I would say something because I am a bitch. But not only am I a bitch, I love confrontation. And I don't know where this came from in my body, but like over the past like 5 years, I've loved confronting people. I just do. Because when people are faced with confrontation from someone who they don't think would stand up to them, it is like hilarious to see their reactions. But specifically at the movie theaters, if you do me wrong, you are on my shit list forever, and I will publicly shame you until you stop. So anyway, I didn't confront this guy because my husband had been waiting for 5 years to go see this movie because he's a huge comic book dude and that's literally his whole entire personality and job. So I just decided not to say anything. However, what the actual hell are you doing smoking next to a woman who just told you she's pregnant in a movie theater? We're watching a movie. What are you doing? So irritating. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the actual, I'm not going to say it again, the substance of this week's episode. I asked you guys for Pouty Monday this week, which TV show ending was so bad that you can't forget it. And the reason why I brought this up as a topic is because I thought it would be fun this week to talk about TV's worst, like the most notoriously bad endings. And I thought that Love Island was going to have a terrible ending, which is why I was thinking in my head already about bad endings. But I was pleasantly surprised with Love Island. But some of these I have seen, I think almost all of these movies or all of these shows, so I have a lot of thoughts. But there will be a lot of spoilers in this episode, so if I mention something, I'm going to spoil it for you. So if I mention it, The Handmaid's Tale, I'm about to spoil it for you. And I'm about to mention The Handmaid's Tale, so if you don't want to listen, don't. Okay, so in my opinion, the most recent shocking, terrible, horrible show ending was The Handmaid's Tale. And here's why. It was so boring, due in part to the million slow motion scenes that were completely unnecessary. And what's up with all of the close-ups of what's her name, Elizabeth Moss? Why do we need to keep seeing her nostrils? Seriously, like, we know they're flared. Back up. Characters did things that didn't make any sense, like Naomi Putnam just giving her daughter back to Janine. And Luke pretty much just being like, see you later. Like, after they went through all of that together, he literally just says at the end, like, well, I think it's time for us to go our own ways, right? Like, what? What? No. No resolution with Hannah, which I thought, like, for sure we were going to get that. For sure. But no. And then the entire season just felt like a prequel episode to The Testaments, which is the sequel, I guess, that's coming, or the spin-off show. I don't know. It's coming out. And you could tell that they just gave up on this last season, maybe even the season before that. But the show got bad after like season 3, honestly. I rewatched the whole thing with my husband because he'd never seen it before, and I knew that this was going to be the last season coming out. So I was like, okay, well, you know what? We'll rewatch it because I remember really liking it. And my God, it was so hard to get through it. Anyway, and then also there was no resolution with major characters like Emily and Moira. Where did they go? What are they doing? We don't know. So, a couple of you guys said some interesting things. One was Seinfeld. I have not seen Seinfeld. I know. What a crime. Terrible. But I've never watched it. I don't know why. I think like I saw a couple episodes here and there and I just didn't think that it was that funny. Please don't come for me. I just think it just wasn't around when I was an avid TV watcher on cable. But anyway, I looked up why you guys think that it was a bad ending, and turns out whoever wrote this is not the only person that thinks that, because it is literally on a lot of like top 10 lists of worst endings of all time. But some article said that the Seinfeld finale is widely considered disappointing because it is focused on the characters' flaws and their lack of growth rather than providing a satisfying conclusion or a sense of closure. Instead of a heartwarming send-off, the finale saw the main characters on trial for their past actions, resulting in a year-long prison sentence. This ending, perceived as a middle finger to the audience, felt contrived and didn't align with the expectations of a happy and even a meaningful conclusion. So, yeah, I totally understand that, because like you build a connection with these characters. And then at the very end, just like in Handmaid's Tale, you have these major characters making decisions that show that they haven't made any growth or change. In my opinion, like, that's always so disappointing to watch. So I do understand that. Maybe Seinfeld will be on my list one day of things to watch. Somebody said Gossip Girl. And I have watched Gossip Girl. And every time I watch, and I've watched it probably 3 times. Every time I watch Gossip Girl, I just find it funnier and funnier and funnier every single time. I don't know why. It's very amusing to me. And also super misogynistic. But anyway, she said that I think there's just too many plot holes and the ending felt rushed and watered down. Dan and Serena getting married, even though their parents are married to each other, is also a little cringe. Hard agree on that. Dan being Gossip Girl makes sense, but too many plot holes. I think Georgina, or maybe even one of Blair's minions, would have been a better Gossip Girl reveal, but Dan does make sense. Yeah, you know what's weird? Like, I feel like I remember, I could be completely wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I feel like I remember, like, finding out that Dan was not supposed to be Gossip Girl from the beginning, and then they kind of just, like, made that they kind of made that arc happen, like, towards the middle or the end or something. I want to say, I feel like it should have been Vanessa. You know who I'm talking about? And I hated that character so much. Oh, I remember hating her so much. She was such a pick-me. Oh my God. Okay, next, somebody said, this was an interesting one. Somebody said, Gilmore Girls, A Year in the Life, made us wait for years and then end on a horrible cliffhanger, never to be seen again. And when she said this, I thought to myself, interesting. But, like, I remember liking it, and I haven't seen it in forever. It came out in 2016, I think. So it's been a very, very long time since it came out. But I looked it up as well. And basically, this is what Google said, right? The Gilmore Girls revival, A Year in the Life, ended on a cliffhanger with Rory revealing she's pregnant, mirroring her mother Lorelai's situation at the start of the original series. The creator intentionally chose this ending to bring the story full circle and suggest that life, like the Gilmore Girls relationship, is ongoing and ever-changing. And then, in detail, it was mirroring Lorelai's life because the creator always envisioned Rory's pregnancy as the final reveal, echoing Lorelai's experience of becoming a young single mother. Open-ended nature of life. The creator wanted to convey that the Gilmore Girls' lives continue beyond the final scene with new chapters and challenges. Fitting conclusion. While some fans found the ending frustrating, many saw it as a fitting and cyclical conclusion, highlighting the enduring bond between mother and daughter, and it was not meant to be set up for more. So despite the cliffhanger, the creator has stated that the ending wasn't designed to guarantee a continuation of the show. Also, I just want to say, I think they're also mirroring how, oh man, how am I going to forget their names? I literally love this show so much. Like, what is wrong with me? What's the guy's name? Logan? You know, the guy that knocked her up, or that I think knocked her up? Who knocked up Rory? Who knocked on Rory? Logan, yeah. So I think that Logan is the one that got her pregnant. And I think that Jess, who's played by, what's his name, Milo Ventimiglia or something like that. I think that guy is going to be the one to, like, be there for her and her child and be, like, the stepdad. Kind of mirroring the situation where Chris is the father of Rory, but what's his name? Oh my God, what is his name? What is wrong with me? I can't believe that I'm forgetting this. You know who I'm talking about? The guy who owns the stinking coffee shop. Who owns the coffee shop? I'm going to sound so stupid. I know some people are screaming at me right now. It's literally Luke Steiner. I'm so stupid. Luke was like the surrogate dad for Rory for her whole life. And I feel like that's mirroring that as well, if that makes any sense. So in a way, I kind of liked it. And To be completely honest with you guys, personally, when movie endings or show endings are bad, I choose to just accept it most of the time because I just can't fathom living in a state of perpetual disappointment. I feel like I kind of do sometimes. Anyway, I try not to. And so sometimes, for example, with the Game of Thrones ending, which we are about to get into next, I feel like I just try to accept it for what it is and move forward. But that one does hit a sore spot for sure, the Game of Thrones one. So we'll get into that next. Game of Thrones. Why was this one so terrible? It felt rushed. The showrunners decided on a set number of episodes for the last season, so they had to cram a lot in that story. And that made everything feel super fast with less time to really focus on the characters. They made some very weird character choices as well. Some characters started acting in ways that didn't match who they had been before. For example, Daenerys turning evil felt sudden and didn't really make sense. To be fair though, I did kind of think that made sense because of the Mad King and everything like that, but they needed to really, really, really build that up. Like I loved Game of Thrones, by the way, but like I felt like that could have made sense, but they rushed it. They rushed everything. Jon Snow being sent away after everything he did also felt like a letdown. Everybody wanted him to be the king in the north. Everybody. And me too. Unfinished storylines. A lot of story threads were left hanging. Jon Snow being a Targaryen ended up not mattering at all. And some characters like Sansa and Arya, they had rushed or unclear endings. So I remember that being very annoying too. Do you guys remember watching the Game of Thrones finale, or at least the entire season of like the ending, and it just being like black? Do you remember that? Like I remember going over every, like, I think it was Wednesday nights that it would premiere, every Wednesday night to my friend Annie's house, and we would sit there and watch this show, and we would have to turn the lights completely off, like black the curtains out to be able to even see what was going on. So I remember that being a huge complaint as well, because people were like, what the hell are we even watching? Missed chances. The show seemed to go for big, shocking moments instead of giving a thoughtful ending that made sense for the characters and the story. The way that they wrapped up the Night King plot especially felt very disappointing. And then behind the scenes issues, there were rumors that the showrunners and HBO didn't agree on how the final season should go. It sounds like the showrunners wanted to finish the series quickly, even if it meant cutting corners, which you just can't do because you will get a sloppy ending like we had. Oh man, and everybody always says, and I think will say forever, that the Game of Thrones finale was just like the worst of all time. And I told you, I choose to just accept it and move on because I can't, I don't know. I'm so disappointed. But even more disappointing than that is Dexter. Dexter is the next on my list. So, what went wrong with Dexter? The ending of Dexter is pretty infamous for being a letdown. Most fans think that it flopped just because of sloppy writing, unfinished storylines, and a major tone change that didn't fit the rest of the show. But people are especially upset about Deb's death, Dexter's sudden personality shift, and the way that a bunch of the story arcs got rushed or just dropped completely. The whole thing left a bunch of viewers feeling like there was no real closure or answers. And I remember watching this show feeling the exact same way. I felt so mad at Deb's death. I thought it was so unnecessary. But anyway, we'll get into it. So the breakdown of the issues. Deb's death. Fans thought that the way Deb died was badly written and didn't hit as hard emotionally as it should have. And a lot of people felt like it didn't make sense and that maybe Dexter should have died instead. And let me tell you, I think that should have actually happened because they have made like 6 different spin-offs now and they're terrible. Terrible. Like unwatchable terrible. Ugh. Not as bad as And Just Like That though. The rushed ending. The last season felt super rushed. And you guys, we keep running into this problem over and over again. And these shows keep ending up on the lists of the worst endings because they're rushed. Anyway, storylines were left hanging or wrapped up too quickly. It also felt like the writers forgot who Dexter really was, especially when it came to his bond with Deb and his inner struggle with being a killer. You know what? I feel like I remember in the one that they made after that. I don't know if it was called like True Blood or something like that. He had a son and everything like that. And in the end of that one, he kills someone to save his son, but it completely goes against his code. Like, Dexter has a very strict code not to kill people that don't deserve it. And he would jump through hoops to be able to preserve that code. And I remember him breaking that in the next show, and I hated it. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, he didn't die. He should have though. No real closure. There were so many unanswered questions, like what happened to Hannah? What about Harrison? Would Dexter ever face any consequences? We never got answers. Network interference. Apparently Showtime wouldn't let the writers actually kill off Dexter. That decision likely played a big part in why the ending felt so weak and unfinished. And I agree. And like I said, they should have just left it there because people were disappointed. And they said, no, we're going to come back and we're going to feed you even more disappointment. Okay, next. I feel like everybody knows that this one's going to be on this list. How I Met Your Mother. I'm actually due for a rewatch of How I Met Your Mother. I haven't seen it in a long time. I also have Gilmore Girls on my queue, but I'm going to start that in September because that's a fall show and a fall show only. But I will be binging Gilmore Girls again in September. Anyway, How I Met Your Mother. Number 1, putting Ted and Robin over the mother. The whole show had us waiting for Ted to meet the one, Tracy, the mother. But in the end, she dies and Ted goes back to Robin, making it feel like Tracy was just a stepping stone to get Ted and Robin back together. Personally, I didn't feel like I hated that as much as everybody did. I kind of feel like it shows how in life, like, you're meant to be with the person you're meant to be with, and you can have more than one great love in your life, and they will give you something that you can take with you for the rest of your life. Anyway, but that made people upset. And after 9 seasons of build-up, we finally meet the mother, only for her to be pushed aside and then killed off. But that's life, you know? You never know how long people are going to be in your life for. So make the most of it. And then, you know, make a TV show where you're talking about it. Number 2, it felt rushed and all over the place storylines. Rushed and all over the place storylines. And we're getting back to the same thing where everything is being rushed and quickly kind of wrapped up and we get mistakes. The final season was all about Barney and Robin's wedding, and then boom, they split up for the first few minutes of the finale. It felt like the whole season was a waste and then went against the character development that we've seen, especially Barney changing his old ways, which was huge. Then the finale threw in way too much. Their divorce, Tracy's death, Ted and Robin getting back together, all crammed into one rushed ending that didn't give anything time to breathe. And then lastly, ignoring the growth and the chemistry. A lot of fans thought that Ted and Robin's relationship had already been explored and proven not to work. Bringing them back together at the end felt like a step backward for both of them, undoing all their growth. Plus, the chemistry between Barney and Robin, which had been a big part of the later seasons, was completely brushed off, making fans feel like their time and emotional investment didn't matter. And this is the same thing that the writer was saying about Seinfeld, how like the growth and the journey meant nothing because you see these characters acting exactly how they were in the beginning, where you were rooting for them to change and you spent all this time watching them grow and change, and then bam, 10 years down the line they're still doing the same shit. Not cool. We're done with that. You know what? I really liked the show How I Met Your Father with Hilary Duff that was on Hulu for a little while. And I think that one got canceled, but I thought that show had a lot of potential and I really liked it. And I don't know, I have to look into that one and see if that's coming back, but I'm pretty sure it got canceled. But did anybody else watch that? Okay. The next one is Lost. I remember watching Lost up until like season 6 or something. I think there's like 11 seasons. I'm gonna actually look that up. Because, let's see, how many seasons of Lost? Let's see. There are 6 seasons. Okay, so never mind. I didn't quit at season 6. I must have quit at like season 4. I think I got kind of far. And then like stuff started happening that just made me so annoyed with the show that I was like, I can't do this. Like I think they made some sort of weird like supernatural thing happen, and I was like, I don't like this. I wanted to watch a show about people being like is it plane wrecked? I don't know, in a plane wreck, stranded on an island. I don't want to hear them talking about like weird spirits and things like that. That's not what I signed up for here. Anyway, so many unanswered questions. Lost gave us a wild, mysterious island full of strange happenings and deep mythology, but by the end, a lot of those questions never got answered. Instead, the finale focused on the characters' emotional goodbyes, which was nice, but left fans wondering what the heck the island actually was. The Flash Sideways confusion. The whole Flash Sideways timeline in the final season, it turned out to just be a kind of purgatory or afterlife. Dumb, sorry. But it didn't really connect to the main plot, and a lot of fans were left scratching their heads, feeling like it ate up time that could have gone towards real answers. There is nothing I hate more than ambiguity. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. Which we're going to talk about for the next and final show, which arguably has one of the most ambiguous endings. But my God, I hate not knowing the answer. Oh, okay. Characters versus the mystery. The creators always said that the show was about the characters, but let's be real, a lot of us tuned in week after week to figure out the island's secrets. So when the finale barely touched on those mysteries, it felt like a letdown for people who were in it for the puzzle. And then it felt like a bit of a cheat. For some fans, the twist at the end made it feel like the show went back on everything it built up. The whole "it was never about the island" explanation just didn't sit right with viewers who spent years theorizing and piecing things together. And lastly, it just missed the mark. In the end, a lot of people felt that the show had so much potential, but the finale just didn't deliver. It was emotional, sure, but it left too many threads hanging for it to truly feel satisfying. And I hate that. But I feel like I also want to give it another try, but I also know I don't, because it's going to make me so angry. So angry. But I never give up on shows. I think Lost was one of the first shows that I ever really gave up on. And I remember being like, wow, this takes a lot for me to get here. Because I don't get, like, even if a show is abysmal and terrible and unwatchable, I will see it through. I have to. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Okay. Lastly, I've been waiting to talk about this one. The Sopranos. I watched The Sopranos with my husband when I was pregnant with my son. And it was like our pregnancy show, right? So like I would watch it every night with him before we go to bed. And at first I was like, I'm not going to like this show. Like, well, I don't care about this stuff. Like, what? But it ended up being a really good show, a really heartfelt show, a really complex show. The characters were insane. The character building, the universe, if you will, building, like crazy. And yeah, I don't know. It was a very meaningful show, a very impactful show, I will say. But the ending had me pulling my hair out of my head. So, what ending I'm talking about? In the last scene, Tony is at dinner with his family, and then bam, cut to black. No music, no fade out, just gone. And fans were left wondering, did he get whacked or did life just go on? But here's the thing. If you paid attention during the show, multiple times, the gangsters, the Italians, they talk about how when you die, it's just a blackout. It's just a sudden cut to black. And there's no music, no fade out, just gone. And that you don't even see it coming, or like it's a surprise, but everything just goes black. And so in my opinion, we get our answer. He died. In my opinion. I don't know. Also, I found out at the end, right, like after this, that James Gandolfini died in real life. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I remember being like, it was like a 1-2 punch. Anyway, I truly believe that Tony Soprano died. And I think if you paid attention during the show and you heard that they talked about that multiple times, that's why it ended that way. To me, it's a definitive ending, but to a lot of people, they don't believe that. But here's the problem. We'll never really know because James Gandolfini died. So there is absolutely no way for him to be able to come back and play his part. So we'll never know. All right. There was no real closure. A lot of people were frustrated because they wanted a clear ending. Either Tony dies or he gets to live out his days in peace. Instead, we got silence and endless debate. Everyone sees it differently. Some think that the cut to black means that Tony was killed. Others believe it just shows that the constant danger he lives with, that any moment could be his last. The creator, David Chase, said that he called it a death scene, but also insists that the point was the not knowing. He wanted it to be more about the feeling and the tension than a clear answer. And here's why some people actually love it. It's artsy. The ambiguity sparks conversation and makes the ending stick with you. It feels real, like life doesn't always give us closure, especially not in Tony's line of work. And it's about the journey. The show was always more about Tony's day-to-day chaos than his final fate, which is very true. You know, the only thing I would have wanted to see, to be completely honest with you, and if you've watched The Sopranos, then you will know what I'm about to say. I wanted a Carmela and Furio love affair. I did. I would have loved to see Tony Soprano, like, getting whacked, whatever, move on. I would have loved to see Carmela fly to Italy and go find Furio and live out their days in love and sunburn in Italy. But we'll never get that, will we? And that is why some people call that a huge disappointment. I don't agree, I guess. I think in the moment I probably agreed because I was so furious that we didn't have a real answer. But then, you know, thinking about it back, it's totally obvious that he's dead. He's dead. Like, anyway. All right, guys, that's where I'm going to end off. I really loved this conversation with you all and myself. But I love talking about this kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, I was really, really looking forward to it. I was thinking about it for a while. And I would be very interested in hearing your thoughts. Like, if you agree with me that these are in the top worst TV show endings of all time, if you like Justin Bieber's new album, if you like snack wraps, tell me everything. Like, I want to know. I'm really interested in hearing your feedback. But I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again soon. I hope I'm feeling better because I always want to give you my all. But I feel like I did pretty good. Anyway, I love you all so much. And no matter what, don't stop complaining. Bye.